Okay, good morning, boss. So, like I said, our announcement is very, very important. The announcement page on our course canvas, because this is where I'll post most of the information. Like on Tuesday, I didn't even know I was going to cancel the class until like an hour before the class. So, um, it's very, very important. We check announcements on daily basis. So let's go to the calendar. Can you all see my screen, please? I think we have few people in class today. Oh my God. Uh, today's class wasn't canceled. Thank you very much. So today, this week, I'm expecting your lesson two Zybook assignments due for tomorrow. So what are my expectations? Expecting you to submit your challenge activity, your participation activity, and your lab activity for lesson two. We concluded lesson two last week, Thursday. So I am expecting you to go ahead and finish up your Zybox assignments on lesson two. Um, Please, I want you to understand that the way Zybox works, the way Zybook work, if you submit after the deadline, your grades will not be synchronized to Canvas. So it's very, very important you plan your time accordingly and you ensure all your assignments are submitted as at when due. This is very, very important. And I think next week, Monday, which is the second, we have our third check-in activity. So after you submit your lesson two, if you have any question, if you have any concerns on your grades, what you have on Zybox and what you have on Canvas is different. So please, you have this check-in to report any discrepancy between your grades. So it can be corrected within 7 days. Please ensure you use the check-in um, for the purpose and also other questions that you're being asked in the biweekly check-ins. So this is very important. So I'm expecting before our next class on Tuesday, I'm expecting you to submit your lesson two Zybox assessment as well as the check-ins. The check-in for uh check-in three, I wouldn't say it's because it's a bi-weekly thing, it's not every week. So okay, thank you. Thank you. So I think that being said, let's go to the topic of today. I want you to go to your Canvas page and on the model page, on the models, you will say we're in lesson three. And I want us to go over like what are the overview, what are we expecting, what are your expectations in lesson three? What are we going to learn in lesson three? And here we will be introducing some concepts, some basic concepts in our object-oriented programming language, such as variables, identifiers, the assignment operators, and in fact, different operators that works in Java. We're going to talk about how our data is being saved. How do we save our data? How do we store our data in 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 Java when we're writing Java programming language? So this is very, very important. We're also going to talk about the different data type that we have, that we use in Java programming language. So it is very, very, very important. This lesson is the foundation, the basis, and it's very, very, very important because we'll keep building on this in our subsequent lessons. So Um, so if we go to the lecture notes for lesson 2, I'm sorry, I'm having flu, so I'm sorry I couldn't turn on my video today. Uh, so for we have this 3 important documents lesson note we'll go through for this lesson 3 for lesson 3. So I think I have it here, and I like us to start. Do you have any question on lesson 2? Any question before we move to lesson 3? Any question? Thumbs up if there's no question. So I know we're on the same page. Thank you very much. Okay, that being said, thank you. So for this specific class, for this specific class in lesson 3, we will be discussing, like I said, how we use identifiers. How do we name? We've been talking about the naming conventions in Java. What are variables? How do we store data when we're working with object-oriented programming language? We will talk about assignments, statement, assignment expression, the assignment operator itself. Um, we'll also talk about how we name classes, method, variables, and constant. I think for this class, we will also introduce the different data type that we have in Java, or that we use in Java. And on Tuesday, we will move into the different the operators we have, the plus, the addition, multiplication, division, you know, that we have in Java. And of course, we will write simple Java code at the end of this lesson. So like I said, I want this class to be very interactive. So when you see this kind of diagram, what does it shows? What does it tell you? What do you think? Any response? We will discuss it in details. I just want to have what is your general, do you have what is your general opinion when we talk about variable, when we talk about data? Anybody willing to go? Please unmute yourself, use the chat. Oh, we have more people now. Unmute yourself, you can use the chat as well. What do you think? Layman definition. What do you understand by variable? What do you understand by data? Okay. In no opinion, then let's let's get to it. So, like from the picture, you can see here from the diagram, you can see variable is hosting the data. So it means variable is the container where we have the data. So you are saying for instance, integer, you put the variable name as age, and the value you're giving age is 15. So the age is holding what value? Is holding the 15, which is the value you're giving to the age. So variable is holding is the container. It's just like I think that's the simplest description. Variable is the container that holds the data. It's holding the data itself. So the value of you giving to age, for instance, the value is 15. So what is holding 15 is age, which is the variable for uh which is the value for the variable age. So I think that's the simplest description of what a variable is and the relationship between a variable and data. So let's move to the next. What are identifiers? Anybody willing to go? Identifiers. What do you mean by identifiers? It's from the word identify. You're identifying something, you're naming. That's the name. The name, but they are always user defined. So you as a programmer, that's the name you're giving a specific item. That's the name you're giving. Oh, I name this variable as age. So age is what? Age is the identifier. That's the name you're giving that specific variable. So in Java programming language, they have some rules. Some rules govern how you have to declare or how you have to name. I wouldn't use the word declare. How you have to name um, your variable. How you have to name your variable, which is the identifier. How do you name it? So should be sequence of characters. So it can consist letters, digits, underscore, and dollar sign. So your variable, your identifier should not be starting with a number, for instance. It shouldn't be starting with a digit. Of course, it could start with a letter, it could end with a digit. So you start with a letter. You can also start with an underscore. You can start with a dollar sign, but you cannot start your naming your identifier, the name you want to give your variable. You cannot start with a number like digits, like one age. No, that's not possible. You can say age one. Do we understand? I'm sorry, I'm coughing. Thumbs up if you understand. Thank you. So we can say H1 and the other one will be H2, H3, but we can't say 2H or 3H. Logically, I don't think it even makes sense to me as a person. So also we cannot use some reserved words in Java. We cannot use some reserved word in Java, like using public, using main. No, these are reserved word, using system, using print. So we cannot name our variable with reserved words, Java reserved word. It cannot be true, false, or none, because these are also important data type variable in Java. So we cannot use true, false, or none. And you can name it at any length. Your variable can be of any length. However, I believe you want to name your variable in a way that anybody will pick up your code and will understand what you've done. You don't want to give it so much long name that it's you want to read your code after a few months, or a friend wants to go through your code and it's quite confusing. It's just a lot of work to do. So I will say, however you can name it, your identifier can be as long as you like, but ensure you use a very standard good naming convention that brings meaningful insights, that bring meaningful insights to your code. So these are the lists. Like I said, these are the list of reserved words in Java. So you can use abstract, for instance, or use double as a variable name or as an identifier. No, that's not possible, because the computer, the compiler, understand double for another function. It's a reserved word. These are words that has a specific function, specific meaning um, in Java. So you can't use any of these words, I wouldn't go over it one after the other. You'll have the lesson notes on your Canvas page. You can always go through it. So, what is variable itself? We've been saying variable is the container that holds data, the container that holds data. And one interesting thing about variable is that a variable value may change throughout the execution of a program. So you can say, for instance, in the beginning of your code, radius is 1.0, and later changing the value of radius to 2.0. So the variable name is still radius, like you said, but the value you've given that variable has changed. So the variable values may change throughout the execution of your program. So do we understand this? Another important point I want to mention when we're talking about variable is the variable determines how your data is stored. It determines how your data is stored, not just the identifier itself, and also the data type. And we will go to data type in few minutes, and I believe you understand this better. So, what are the different variable types we have in Java? Sorry. So we have integer, floating points, character, we have boolean, and we have string. I think we discussed about string in our last class. So integer, like we can see on the PowerPoint slides, these are whole numbers, 3, 5, 6, minus 10, 20. These are whole numbers, no decimal points. So that's what we call integer. And when we go to floating points, they are not all numbers, they're real numbers. So in this, they're usually identified with decimal points. So we can see 3.1, 3.5 minus 3.6. These are not all numbers, but 3.0, they have one decimal place or two decimal or more than two decimal places. These are floating points. And when we talk about characters, these are textual. And this is very, very important we understand because it's a single, you're saving, you're storing a single character. So W, for instance. So you must be able to distinguish between the character data type and the string data type. String is, you have more than one character in a string. And in fact, numbers could be a string, more than one numbers. So, however, character is just one single character. So you're talking about W, we're talking about 8. So any character on your keyboard, but it has to just be single character. And Boolean, that's when we talk about, true or false. And I think I mentioned in the previous slide, it's one of the, you cannot name your identifier true or false because the computer understands this, to understand this differently. So when we talk about integer, we already said it's all numbers. We're talking about just numbers without decimal points. 100, 200, 10, 11, 21 in this instance we have. So, and I mentioned the variable types determine how our data is stored because the variable is the container that holds our data. So, an int, once you declare an integer, which is the most popular among the integer data type. We have byte, we have short, we have int, and we have long. However, I think for most of this class, we'll be using integer mostly. And for int, it shows the computer understand int, it's saving in just 4 bytes. Bytes is just, if you're declaring a byte, for instance, the memory it takes up is just 1 byte. That's what the computer understands. For short, it's taking 2 bytes. For integer, like we said, int is 4 bytes. And for long, that's like double space of the ints. So in memory, for instance, in just I like to visualize some kind of analogy to understand this better. So we just declare int age equals 21. So what happens? What happens? This is what you wrote. This is what you declare in on your IDEs, for instance. Maybe you're using IntelliJ or whatever you're using. And in the memory, int is already saying, oh, it's an integer. So I'm saving it. It will take about 4 bytes space. That's what it tells your RAM. That's what this int tells the RAM. And we have the variable name, we already discussed that, which is the age. And what is the value? What is the value we've given the age? 21. Can you differentiate variable name, which is the identifier, the data type, and the value, the variable value? Are we good to go? Thumbs up if you understood. Thank you. So it's similar for the floating data type as well. For floats, we have two. We have two main variable type here. We have a float and double. To be honest, I think we'll be using more of the double for this class. More of the double data type. For float, if you're declaring float, it tells the computer use up 4 bytes. And if you declare double, it tells the computer. So the variable type, each data type tells the computer how much space to allocate in the memory for a variable. That's just a simple form. So if you declare double, you don't have to, automatically the computer understand, oh, it's a double. So I need to allocate 8 bytes for this specific variable. Double, it could be double radius. So the variable name is radius. Like we have, okay, let's say pressure insert, for instance. The variable name is pressure. However, it's a double. It automatically tells the computer, allocate 8 bytes for the specific variable. And we already said floatings are non-whole numbers. So they have decimal point. 2.6, 36.00, 3.14159 in the case of the example we have on the slide. So the different data type tells the computer how to store the data, the amount of space that is required, that is allocated in the memory to store this specific variable we are declaring. So we also have the character, and that's always denoted by the char. So it's save about two bytes, 2 bytes, and 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 2 like I said, it's very, very important. We know it takes any keyboard, any of the value on your keyboard. It has to be single. It has to be a singular character. So W, for instance, uh, it could be lowercase, it could be uppercase, and we have the boolean. The boolean is saving just one bit, and it's telling the computer, it's just true. Is that it's true or it is false? Do we understand this? Any question? Any question? Thumbs up if there's no question. Hmm. Okay, interesting. Thank you. So this is just an example, of how do we differentiate double versus float? And why do we use double? Like why are we concentrating? One of the reasons why we're concentrating more on double data type in this class is because it provides more accurate, it gives more accurate value than the float data type. So the float data type is always like like some kind of approximation. Um, so it approximates the last value. However, in the double data type, you have the exact, the most accurate value of 1 divided by 3, for instance. And this is saving because it's saving in 16 digits. Why the float data type save in 7 digits? So um, I think do we have our I want us to go to our IDEs. Do we have our IDEs open? Please unmute yourself. Thumbs up if you have your IDEs open. Are we ready? Good. I want us to learn by doing, and that's why we have this in class kind of activity today. And this is what we want to do. We want to calculate. We want to build a currency calculator using Java. And this is what the output, this is what the output should look like. And we have some kind of aim here. How do we calculate the dollar to euro exchange? It gives us dollar multiplied by euro exchange rate to calculate the dollar to euro exchange. So you're not required to round to 2 digits after the decimal places. You will discuss how this is done later in the course. If you're curious about how to do this, use printf method. Our output should match the given output exactly. So, are we good to go? What is the first thing we are to do? I said it last week. I like to organize things better. And how do I organize things? Because we're in lesson 3, the first thing is to come here and create a new project called lesson 3. Are we good? Thumbs up if you understood that. Good. So once we create our lesson 3, I don't need a sample code, but we can have it. So I come here, I want to create a new class. And what am I going to call it? Because it's a currency calculator, I know I'm calling it currency. Sorry. Currency calculator. Good. So what's the first thing? We discussed this last week. What's the first thing to do here? Unmute yourself, please. What's the first thing? What are we to do? We've created a new project. Our project name, our file name rather, is currency calculator. Our class name is currency calculator. So we said our file name and the class name must be corresponding. Good, we've done that. So what's the next thing to do? Mm,
The public static.
good, thank you. So we have to open the main method because that's where we write our code. That's the public static. Thank you. It's good to see you guys are following. I'm so happy. Yep. And you can always, the beauty of the ID hymns is you don't have to write everything. You can always use. Sure, honey. Mhm. So now we have that. Let's see, what are we to do? So I want to minimize this a little bit. I have the instructions somewhere here. So you can see the output should look like this. And we have like asterisk at the top. We have the currency calculator header, and we have asterisk. We want our output exactly like this. How many dollars do you want to convert? So we have the number of dollars that should be converted as 65. And we have the exchange rate as 2.6. And we have this information here that tells us what will be the euro value will be the dollar multiplied by the exchange rate of the euro per dollar exchange rate. So that gives us the value that we'll be having in euros. So now we've understood the problem. The first thing we said, the programming life cycle, we have to understand the problem first. We have to analyze it. We have to specify requirements. And we already understood we need the dollars, the amount of dollar. We need the exchange rates. These are the requirements we need. Okay, we need to verify this requirement is sufficient to calculate the amount we will be receiving in euros. So let's go back to our IDEs. Okay, and the first thing to do is to declare the given, the given values, the values we were given. And we have what? We have double. Because in the instruction, I'm sorry, I have to go back. In the instruction, it stated, do not, you do not require to round up to two decimal places. So, and we already said double gives us the most accurate value when we're dealing with floating points. So dollars, we know the dollars. What is the value of the dollars we're giving? 65.00. So this is what the entire of this is where is our variable. We've declared a variable here. And Double signifies the variable, the variable data type, the kind of data type we've declared, double. It tells how much space should be allocated in the memory for this variable. Dollar, which is the variable name, the name is dollars. And this is the value for the dollar, 6.65.00. Are we clear on this? Thumbs up if you understood. This is the entire, our variable we just declared. Thank you. So we're also given another value. What's the other value we were given? We're given the euro exchange rates. So this is also in a double data type because it's 2.6. So it's not an whole number, it has a decimal point. So how do we name it? Don't forget your camel case. And you can always name your variable at any length, but you should give meaningful names to your variable so when you go back to your program, you understand what you've done. It's very, very important. So now we're done with it. These are the two values we were given. We were given 65.00 for the dollar we want to convert, and we were given 2.6 as the exchange rates. Now, we have to do the calculation. We have to do the conversion. With $65, I want to exchange $65 using 2.6 exchange rates from euros to dollars to euros exchange rate. So, and we have, if we go to this, we have like an hint on how to do this. The dollar to euro exchange amount is calculated by doing the following. So you have to multiply. Sorry. You have to multiply dollar multiplied by the euro exchange rate. Are we clear on this? Any question before we proceed? Any question? Thumbs up if there's no question. I'm sorry, I'm not on my camera today. It feels so disconnected. Okay, thank you. So now I want to do the calculation. I want to calculate the euro value. How do I do that? How do I do that? I want my thing. What? Yeah. How do I do that? We already saying in the description, that we were given. So we need to declare if another variable, which will be double euros, equals the dollar we already declared here multiplied by the exchange value. So it's always beautiful because you don't have to type everything. So now it's time to print our output. So let's printing the output. So now we have to print our output, and we said in our lesson 2, in Java we use the what? The system.out.print. The system.out.print command to print in Java. So let's get to here. But we have to ensure we're printing, it has to look exactly like this. It has to look exactly like this. So system that have spaces the print. What happened? You can see this is on the red line. What has happened? Can anybody debug this error, please? Do anybody understand why I have this in red color?
You need a period after out.
Yes, I think I'm missing something. I'm missing system dot print. This needs to be another to print out. And here, the first line is more an asterisk, an asterisk. So how do we do that? Because we want to print asterisk. We don't forget we need our quotes or double quotes. And we just want to print asterisk. So we'll put the asterisk in that. Oh my God. Okay. Actually, let's see. And I have this red because I have not terminated my statement. Start. So the next, I need to print another statement here saying the currency calculator. I'm using new line because they are all in new line. So in caps locks, I know the currency, I put it more here. However, I need to create space because I want it to be at the central. I want it to be at the central of, yeah, it's a bit messy. Sorry, guys. I'm a bit disorganized today. It's fine. So, and I have another line, which is also an asterisk. The easiest thing I could do is just to copy this and paste it. I can just copy and paste it if I don't want to. However, it's not the best. So, after that, what are we to print? Let's go back and see. How many dollars do you want to convert? That's the question. So that's the next line we're printing. That's the next line we're printing. Okay. The system. So I need to start with how many dollars do you to convert. That was the question. And after this, I need to call, I need to concatenate this with what? With the variable dollar, I have the plan, which will print the value of the dollar. That's that the user wants to convert. And the next line is also uh, almost the same kind of questioning. What is the euros per dollar exchange? So this is another question. Like, what is the euro per dollar exchange rate? And you can calculate this with also the variable we have declared. I have to close my statement. And the next line is still, well, it's still, it's still this asterisk. Still this asterisk. So what can I do? I don't want to keep writing the asterisk over and over again. I can just come and copy. And what is the next statement? So the next statement is really talking about the calculations. What is the value of the euros when we convert $65? So come up to friends statements. And I want to space it a bit because I want to say 65.00 dollars. No, I can also call the dollar sign. So I don't want to call that. So what am I to do? So I said dollars plus. I'm concatenating it. Is converted to in its place. So and plus euros that I've declared plus euros. Yeah. Finding out this. And I terminate my statement just like we have it. And I'm not sure. Let's check. So we also have this, I don't know, a lot of asterisk in this line of code. So I'm gonna copy the one I have here. I'm just gonna paste it down. So I know this is my kind of main. And this is the end of the class itself. So run it and see what we have. Hmm. Hmm. There is. What do you think? I'm missing some spaces, some white spaces, and the like. So all I have to do is I see my output, so I'm able to debug. Oh, there is need for a space here because I want it to be sadly. So just one space. Yep. So white space. Perfect. Do we understand? Okay. I think I also need to ensure my question mark is immediately after. Yeah, that was wrong. Yeah, immediately after. Any question? Do we understand this? Okay, cool. And okay, so that's it. That's you have declared, you have what have we done? We have declared the variable, we have initialized the variable. So, sorry. So we have declared a variable. What variable? So we have declared a variable. Double dollars. It's just the same to like int h. This is the data type, and this is the variable name. Double radius, this is the data type, and this is the variable name. Char mid initials, this is your data type, and this is the name, the variable name. Maybe middle name, whatever you want to call it. So once you declare a variable, you now initialize, initialization, assigning, I don't know, it's just a simple assigning a value to the name you have declared, to the variable you've declared. Age is equals to 15. So it's the same thing we've done here. Double dollars is equals to 65 because it's $65. Exchange rate is 2.6. That's the euro to dollar exchange rate. So this is the variable name, and this is the value we've initialized to our variable. I hope. Do you understand this? Thumbs up if you understand and we're ready to. I'm sorry. Okay, I think I would like to stop here today. If you have any question, please let me know. I'm sorry I was unable to attend the office hour, the virtual office hour yesterday. I was terribly, terribly sick. So I'll stop the recording